Elior stepped off the small supply ship, his boots echoing on the metal floor of the space station. The station hung in orbit around a gray, barren planet. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved like ants across the docking bay, unloading cargo, passengers, and whispers of trade deals. Aliens of countless forms walked past him, some with scales, some with multiple eyes, and some whose shapes seemed almost liquid. Elior did not care. He had no desire for trade deals or politics. He had a simple goal: to cook. On Earth, Elior had been a master chef. His knife skills were unmatched, his recipes unforgettable, and his calm nature had earned him respect. But the galaxy did not know him as a chef. Here he was just another human, small, fragile, and unarmed, or so they thought. His prized knife, made of earth steel and honed with years of practice, hung at his side. To Elior, it was a tool for creating food. To anyone else, it looked harmless. He moved toward the diner that had offered him work, carrying only a small bag of ingredients. The diner was modest, tucked into a quieter part of the station, far from the flashy shops and noisy markets. Inside, the smell of recycled air mixed with alien spices and oils. Elior set down his bag and began unpacking. Another human cook, a thin, green-skinned alien, muttered, watching from the counter. "How long do you think he will last here?" "Humans are soft," Elior smiled politely. "I hope long enough to cook something you like," he said in basic galactic common. His accent was faint but sharp. The alien snorted and turned away. At first, life at the diner was ordinary. Elior chopped, stirred, and baked. His knife moved in a blur faster than any alien eye could track. He prepared dishes that made creatures pause, sniff, and taste, sometimes more than once. News of the human cook spread slowly, but it did spread. Soon, curious aliens lined up outside the diner, eager to see the one species that had survived countless death worlds and dangerous planets. But not all attention was friendly. In the darker corners of the station, whispers traveled faster than light. The Gravik Syndicate, a gang of ruthless aliens known for smuggling and extortion, noticed Elior. They laughed at the idea that a human could be dangerous. "A cook," one of them said. "Humans are weak. They can barely lift a weapon. This one is nothing." Elior, of course, heard nothing. He did not need to. Humans had a different way of seeing threats. They studied, observed, and waited. The first sign of trouble came one evening. Elior was delivering a meal to a small alien family when he noticed a shadow moving differently than the others. It was deliberate, careful, and sharp. He set the tray down gently and glanced around. Nothing moved now. The station's hum sounded normal. But Elior's eyes, trained on danger from years of survival, did not miss the tiny detail. A small panel by the ceiling had been tampered with. Someone was watching. That night he returned to his small quarters, laid his knife carefully on the table, and cleaned it. The steel gleamed under the lights. On Earth it had been for cutting meat, vegetables, and bread. Here it could be for something else. 3 days later it happened. The Gravik Syndicate decided to make their move. They stormed the station's lower levels, demanding credits, weapons, and control. The humans and smaller aliens panicked. The station's automated defenses were slow to respond. Chaos spread like wildfire. Elior stayed calm. He moved silently, slipping into the shadows of the diner. His knife was at his side, balanced and ready. The first Syndicate thug stepped inside, confident, sneering. He waved a spiked baton. "Stand aside, human," he barked. "This is not your place." Elior smiled faintly. He did not move at first. Then, as the thug lunged, Elior's hand was faster than the eye could follow. The knife flashed, stopping the baton mid-air, pinning it to a support beam. The thug froze, staring at the knife, unsure if it was a weapon or a strange alien artifact. "You should leave," Elior said calmly. His voice carried a weight not from volume but from certainty. The thug laughed nervously, backing away. "It's just a human." "Weak, soft." Elior moved. One step, then another, each precise, each careful. In a blur, the thug found himself disarmed, trapped against the wall, staring at the gleaming knife inches from his face. Not a scratch, not a mark, just skill, control, and warning. Word spread quickly. Syndicate members entering the diner saw Elior standing alone, knife in hand, calm, unafraid. They expected a human to flee or cry. Instead, they met calculated precision. By the time the Syndicate leader arrived, Elior had already disarmed 3 of his strongest fighters. Civilians watched from hidden corners, hearts pounding. Some aliens whispered in awe. Humans, they realized, were not ordinary. The leader, massive and covered in black armor, strode forward. His voice was like gravel. "Do you think a knife makes you a warrior, human?" Elior tilted his head slightly. "No," he said. "But it shows you that humans are not as simple as you think." The leader laughed, a sound like breaking metal. "Then we shall see." The part ends there, with Elior standing ready, knife in hand, calm amid the chaos as the Gravik Syndicate closes in. Aliens who had underestimated him began to realize that humans might be something entirely different, something to respect, or fear. Even in this moment, Elior thought like a chef. Every move matters, every strike precise, every decision deliberate. And unlike cooking, this battle was for life, and he was prepared. The space station burned with chaos. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and alien screams echoed through the corridors. Gravik Syndicate soldiers moved like predators searching for easy prey. Civilians ducked behind crates, under tables, and in the shadows. The humans on the station were few, and many froze in fear. But Elior, the human cook, did not move like the others. He moved with precision. His knife gleamed in the dim light, held not as a chef holds a tool, but as a warrior holds a sword. Every step he took was deliberate. Every glance scanned for danger. The station itself became part of his plan. He ducked behind a counter, watching a Syndicate soldier approach. The alien's heavy boots clanged against the floor. It gripped a baton bristling with spikes. Most humans would have run, but Elior was not most humans. With a flick of his wrist, the knife spun in his hand, its edge catching a warning light above. The soldier paused, unnerved by the calmness of this human. Elior did not hesitate. He stepped forward, sidestepped the alien's lunge, and used the baton's momentum to redirect it into a wall, snapping it with a crack. The soldier stumbled back, disarmed and shocked, and Elior's knife rested against his chest. Not to kill, but to warn. The other Syndicate members began to notice. "This human is different," one hissed. "He moves like we've never seen." Elior took advantage of their confusion. He moved through the diner and into the hallways, leaving signs and small traps behind him. Broken cables dangled from the ceiling. Loose panels on the walls created hazards. He did not need heavy weapons. The station itself was his ally. He was teaching the Syndicate a lesson. Humans survive by using their minds, not just brute force. Civilians watched in awe from hiding places. One small four-armed alien whispered, "I thought humans were weak, but look, he is more than that." The Syndicate leader, massive and armored, stormed into the diner. His voice boomed like falling metal. "Step aside, human. You cannot stop me." Elior tilted his head. "I am not trying to stop you. I am showing you," the leader charged. His soldiers moved around him like waves, but Elior did not flinch. He ducked, twisted, and with a single swift motion, he flipped the floor panel under the leader's feet. The leader slipped, grabbed a railing to save himself, but in that moment, Elior was behind him, knife at the ready. The leader's eyes widened. "You, human," he growled. Elior's expression was calm. "You underestimated us." The battle continued through the station. Syndicate soldiers, heavily armed and trained for combat, tried to overwhelm him. But Elior was faster, smarter, and more unpredictable. He did not fight to kill, he fought to control the battlefield. He redirected attacks, disarmed soldiers, and used the environment. One soldier lunged with a blade. Elior caught it mid-air, twisted it harmlessly out of reach, and pushed him into a storage bay. Another tried to ambush him in the hallway. Elior had already rigged the door to block him, forcing him into a corner. All the while, the civilians began to see the truth. Humans were not weak. Humans were dangerous when underestimated, and they survived in ways others could not. Then came the moment of truth. The leader cornered Elior in the station's central chamber. The chamber was wide, filled with crates, panels, and pipes running along the walls. It was noisy, chaotic, and dangerous. The leader raised his massive arms, each holding energy clubs that glowed with lethal power. "You are nothing," the leader roared. "Just a small, fragile human." Elior tightened his grip on the knife. "Small, yes. Fragile, no. Humans survive where others fail." The leader swung his clubs. Sparks flew as they struck metal surfaces. Elior ducked, rolled, and jumped, each movement precise and calculated. He slashed his knife along a support beam. It bent, broke, and fell, striking one of the leader's arms. The alien stumbled back, surprised and angry. Elior's strategy was simple. Use the enemy's strength against them. Use the environment to control the fight. and strike only when necessary.
He did not need brute force.
The leader's arrogance was his weakness. With a clever feint, Elior caused the leader to overextend. He used a hanging cable to swing past the massive alien and strike the floor behind him, tripping the leader over the edge of a raised platform. The leader fell hard, crashing into a stack of crates. The impact did not kill him, but it knocked him unconscious. Silence fell over the chamber. Aliens peeked from hiding places. The Syndicate soldiers froze, stunned by the human skill. Elior stood in the middle of the room, knife in hand, breathing steadily. He did not boast. He did not celebrate. He simply cleaned the blade and returned it to its sheath. The humans on the station slowly emerged from their hiding spots. They looked at Elior with awe and gratitude. The aliens, too, began to see that humans were not fragile, not weak, and certainly not predictable. An elderly alien with tentacles approached him carefully. I did not know humans could do that. You saved us. Elior shook his head. I didn't save you for glory. I just did what had to be done. Humans survive. That is all. The Gravik Syndicate had been defeated, not by numbers, not by weapons, but by human ingenuity, courage, and skill. Word of the battle spread across the station. Humans who were once dismissed as soft and fragile began to earn respect. They were survivors, clever and deadly in ways no one had expected. Elior returned to his diner the next day. The mess had been cleaned up, but his knife remained at his side. Customers lined up not just for food, but for a glimpse of the human who had turned a station upside down and defeated a gang of ruthless criminals with nothing but skill and cleverness. A young alien child watched him closely. Can humans really do that? She asked her parent. Her parent nodded. Yes, but only some humans. And only when they need to. They are not weak. They are different. Elior smiled faintly as he chopped vegetables for the next meal. To him, this was ordinary. Cooking was his life, and the knife was his tool. But the galaxy had learned something new. Never underestimate a human. By the end of the week, the station was calm again. The Syndicate had retreated, humiliated and cautious. Humans had earned a new reputation, not as prey, but as fighters, thinkers, and survivors. And Elior? He returned to his kitchen, to his knives, to his simple life. He was just a cook, but the knife in his hand had proven that humans were anything but ordinary. He plated a dish of roasted vegetables and fresh bread, smiling quietly as an alien customer took a bite and closed their eyes in delight. Elior's knife had done more than slice and dice. It had cut through doubt, fear, and prejudice. And in the galaxy's quiet corners, humans were no longer seen as weak. They were seen as something extraordinary. The part ends with Elior standing in the diner, knife in hand, calm and ready. The galaxy might underestimate humans again one day, but those who had seen him fight would never forget.